Snow crunched beneath Clara's thin shoes as she stumbled along the forest trail. Her stepmother's harsh words still echoed, "You're nothing but a burden." Left without food, coat, or direction, Clara knew this was meant to be her grave. She pulled her tattered shawl tighter around her shoulders, fighting the biting wind. Once, she had known warmth, her father's laughter, her mother's lullabies, but both were gone now. Only cruelty remained. As the forest closed in, Clara's small frame shivered violently. Each step grew heavier, her breath turning into tiny puffs of frost. She whispered a trembling prayer for help, unaware that fate was about to change everything. Lady Agatha, Clara's stepmother, had despised her from the moment she entered the household. Jealous of Clara's beauty and innocence, she viewed the girl as a shadow of her late mother. With Clara's father buried and no one left to defend her, Agatha's plan was simple: rid herself of the girl once and for all. Sending Clara to gather wood in the storm had been her excuse. But in truth, she had ordered the coachman to abandon the child deep in the forest. Sipping her wine by the fire, Agatha felt triumphant. She believed the snow would swallow Clara whole. Hours passed. Clara's weak legs gave out as the storm grew fiercer. Hunger clawed at her stomach, and her lips turned blue. She collapsed onto the frozen path, her tears freezing instantly. "Mama!" "Papa," she whispered, her voice fading into the howl of the wind. Her vision blurred, stars dancing before her eyes. Just when she thought her life was slipping away, the sound of hooves thundered in the distance. Lantern light broke through the blizzard, casting golden rays on her pale face. A deep voice called out, strong and urgent, "Stop the carriage. Someone's there." Lord Henry Blackwell, a wealthy landowner, had been returning from a winter gathering when his coachman spotted Clara in the snow. He leapt from his carriage, his fur-lined cloak sweeping behind him. Kneeling, he lifted Clara's frail body into his arms. She was nearly weightless, as if the storm itself had hollowed her. "She's freezing," he murmured, wrapping her in his cloak. Without hesitation, he ordered his men back to the manor. The child's faint heartbeat stirred something inside him, an ache he hadn't felt since losing his own little sister years ago. Clara awoke to the crackle of a grand fireplace. She lay in a canopy bed with velvet sheets, the air scented with pine and cinnamon. For a moment, she thought it was a dream. A maid pressed warm broth to her lips, urging her to drink slowly. Lord Henry stood nearby, his sharp eyes softened with concern. "You are safe now," he assured her gently. Overwhelmed, Clara whispered a timid thank you. For the first time in years, she felt the warmth of kindness, something her stepmother had long denied her. Though safe, Clara's heart carried scars. She often woke from nightmares, screaming from visions of being abandoned again. Henry would sit by her side, reassuring her until she calmed. Slowly, she confided in him about Agatha, the insults, the neglect, and finally the cruel abandonment. Anger flared in Henry's chest, but he concealed it with a calm promise, "No harm will reach you again." Clara, hesitant to believe, searched his eyes for deceit. Instead, she saw only truth. For the first time, she dared to hope that her suffering had finally come to an end. Days turned into weeks. Clara's health returned, and with it, her laughter. She explored the manor's gardens, learned to read by the library fire, and even rode horses under Henry's careful watch. The Lord, once a man of solitude, found joy in her company. To him, she was not merely a rescued child, she was family he never knew he needed. To Clara, he became the father figure she had lost. The hollow ache in both their hearts began to heal. Yet outside the manor walls, Agatha plotted, enraged to learn Clara had survived. When word reached Agatha that Clara lived under Lord Blackwell's roof, her fury knew no bounds. Greed drove her back to the manor gates, demanding the girl's return. She spun lies, painting herself as a grieving guardian desperate for her stepdaughter's safety. But Henry, wise and observant, saw through her venomous facade. He had already heard Clara's truth. His eyes hardened as he faced Agatha. "You abandoned her in the snow to die," he accused. Agatha's mask slipped, her rage boiling over. She had underestimated the man who now stood between her and her schemes. Henry wasted no time. With witnesses and evidence gathered, he brought Agatha before the town magistrate. Clara trembled as she testified, but Henry's reassuring hand on her shoulder gave her strength. The townspeople gasped at the cruelty revealed how a woman of wealth and status had left an innocent child to perish. Agatha's fate was sealed. Stripped of her title, lands, and freedom, she was led away in disgrace. For Clara, it was the closing of a dark chapter. No longer bound by her stepmother's cruelty, she was free to begin anew. Under Lord Henry's guardianship, Clara blossomed. The shadows of her past no longer defined her. Instead, she grew into a young woman filled with grace and courage. Henry, proud as any father, ensured she had the finest education and every chance at happiness. The girl once abandoned on a frozen trail now walked proudly through life, loved and cherished. The storm that had nearly taken her became the turning point of her destiny. Clara's story was no longer one of despair, it was a tale of survival, justice, and the unexpected love that saved her life.